right?
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, then he went to WebOS. That's where I met him when he was working for WebOS. He used to review and approve my apps on WebOS after they bought up Palm. Major, where are you?
Apparently outside on a really
We're on the roof in Soma, San Francisco.
On the roof, dude.
Oh, what? Tyler's there too?
I don't know if that. Now you're unmuted. Oh, there's Jack. Jack can run the call.
Yeah, so Patrick, don't get too rowdy on them. They'll threaten to jump off.
Wait.
So I need to go to my settings. Personal settings. Full name? Yeah. So you put it in parentheses before your name? Yeah.
Is that the roof at the office there, Major, or where are you?
No. It's the roof of a building we're working from today in San Francisco. It's a friend.
They won't let you down, or what?
That was secretively cryptic. Thank you.
Did somebody forget to stock the door when you went out to smoke?
Hey, Ben.
Wait. Did you?
You're muted.
I'm muted because I'm sitting right next to these guys.
The security guard just walked by. Hide your stash.
I had some beers though. I have to switch off that power cord back and forth, Ben. Are you 9 now? I'm at 91, but you're good. Good for like 20 minutes. Mine dies when I'm at like 20. Oh wow. What are you at now?
It says service by battery.
Let me give them a view of the roof up here. Here's a view of the roof. Got some
The roof
flowers.
is on fire. The roof.
There's
Too much video. You froze. There we go.
back.
Is that Ben's house? Hey, Major, is that Ben's house?
What did he say?
Jim.
How are you, Todd?
Pretty good. Pretty good. For a Wednesday.
Right. It's only Wednesday?
Yeah. When you work every day, it doesn't matter, right?
True that.
When's the last time you had a day off, Jim?
This morning when I
While you were in the
took
shower, you had a whole day off. While you were in the shower, you had a whole day off, huh?
I took NyQuil instead of DayQuil. That was a mistake.
Did you guys have fun at the tree hack?
It was fun. It was awesome.
Bunch of smart kids.
So smart. If you ever want to feel like unproductive, go watch what kids build in 36 hours, right?
Yeah.
it was very cool to be around.
So there's hope. There's hope for the future.
There is some hope for the future.
Who's going on the agenda today?
It's April. It's a long list.
Is April joining?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, it looked like a long list in the suggested topics. We do have a few engineers that have joined us. Some of our newer engineers in Jack and Jaime on, but also Vinay.
Your audio is horrible, man.
All right, we'll switch which laptop we're using. Sorry.
Oh, just missed it. All right. So I'm lost now without April.
Take a break. So.
Oh, terrible. So what do we want to start with for topics?
She's getting started.
Oh, okay. She's just joining now.
Hey guys, how are you doing?
Yay!
Hey, April.
Sorry. Give me one sec. I just came by a different meeting just now, so. How's everyone doing?
Good.
Good,
Great.
April.
Is that Lang by you, Ben?
Yeah.
Hey.
Hey, Gilbert.
Hey.
All right, cool. So let's get started. Thank you guys for waiting. Sorry, I'm a little bit late. Just wanted to kind of talk to you guys about just the agenda real quickly, and then we'll go from there. For the agenda, we're going to be talking about a tree hacks update. We're going to talk about a little bit about hackster.io/SmartThings. I just want to remind people about, the courtesies when it comes to privileges. When we give you guys privileges, don't just edit things without people's permission.
So
We're also going to be...
Before we move on from that, because this is just like a short update on that. As you get to like increasing levels of like veteran status on the forums, you're able to do things, and one of them is modify forum titles or thread titles, and so someone, you should just do that with care, I guess.
I encourage you guys to do it. I love the fact that you guys are doing that, but yeah, just be sensitive on how you're doing it. Thank you, Ben. And then also I'll be talking about the FAQ session today, just to remind you guys, we've created a few FAQ sessions as you guys wanted. In addition to that, Ben has actually created the capabilities one. I love all the submissions that you guys are doing with that. We are having engineers take a look at that and such. So another few things is Tyler actually released a few products certification. You guys might have gotten an email about that, which is really, really cool. Yeah, we might have a potential speaker on the next one with P. Stewart. P. Stewart actually brought a friend over to talk about Z-Wave, so we're working on that, and I will announce that a little bit shortly. And then we'll have some updates from the whole team. So that is the agenda for today. Let's actually start with Ben, Major, and Jim.
And just so you know, that's the agenda as we have from the community, submittal process and things that we wanted to talk about. But we're going to add to it as you guys think of things or want to talk about different things. Major and Jim should give the tree hacks update.
Yeah. Jim, April, Jack, and I went to tree hacks with a few other people. There was about 500 people there. It was a lot of fun. Tons of people were excited about SmartThings. There was, I think, 5 projects built. I'll post the link in a second so you can see what was built with SmartThings. Yeah. And then we're working on some events for South by Southwest. We're still doing smart app submissions, so if you have some smart apps that you're really waiting for, let me know, email me, or tag me on the community, and we'll make sure they get pushed through. Yeah, and if there's any events in your area that you want us to go to, let us know. We're also building an ambassador program. Jim and April might have some more updates about events.
This is Jim here. So from TreeHacks, like Major mentioned, it was a good turnout, good interest in SmartThings. From a learning and a docs perspective, it was interesting to see, people wanting to get up to speed quickly and the successes and struggles that they would run into along the way. So, we've got some ideas around a better onboarding procedure, especially for things that tend to be common tasks, whether they be at hackathons or outside of hackathons. So that was good to see and good to be immersed in too from that perspective. And look for a blog post probably later this week out on blog.smartthings, capturing our experiences and talking about some of the winning projects that use SmartThings. April, do you have anything else on that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you guys have been following on that thread where I mentioned that we were having that event, I've actually sent some pictures on the meantime. I think in moving forward, we're going to start trying to do that and kind of get you guys involved. Even if you weren't there, you can live vicariously through the event itself. And hopefully I can update in time. There's times where I was extremely sleep deprived and trying to figure out everything. So, there's times where we are going to try and update you guys as much. And also, if you follow like Jim, Major, Ben, or I's Twitter, we were updating pretty much on the spot most of the times too. So we're going to try and do that along with, posting it on the community. So then you guys, even if you weren't there, you can feel like you guys are there and give your inputs and such. In fact, I've shared a lot of stories with a lot of the people creating, and when a lot of the students were coming out and proposing their ideas, I'm like, oh, you know what, this person in the community actually did it, this is how they did it, and after telling them, they've actually inspired them to do, and build upon that. If not, they built something different. So it was actually really good. And then for them to see that community base from you guys, I just want to thank you guys for that. So that's kind of it for Tree Hacks. Do you guys have anything else more to add? Coolio. So FAQ session. FAQ and the community, or sorry, the capabilities. I know you guys have been submitting a lot on those. Gilbert, I love your cat. You should just bring him to the office. I really like kitties. So with those, we are looking at those. I know some people were asking about that. We have engineers looking at those. We are finding a process in the meantime as we're integrating an upvoting type of system. I know we've talked about that. We are actually, in the interim, we are working on a process right now to see how we can integrate those for those. So, Tyler, is there something you can speak to that, or is he here?
No, I think you said it all, actually. And then we've talked a lot about this like user voice style feature to submit an idea and update it. That's coming. We were testing our integration that we have with that already and aren't happy with the way that Zendesk is handling that. And as you said, in the interim, the forums can be used for that.
Yeah, we can use the polling feature in the forums potentially. Maybe even doing like bracket style polling where we have like 4 different brackets of devices, and we vote on them for a week each or something, and then do the top 4 or something. But yeah, we need to get a sense of, we've got a whole spreadsheet now of all the devices people have said that they want, but it's hard to like know for sure if like one that's been mentioned 4 times is really that much more wanted than one that's been mentioned twice, for example. So maybe some sort of voting.
Well, the voting wouldn't really be great because a lot of the capabilities that we don't have, the end users might not know that they need them until they have them, if you understand what I'm saying.
And I think we're talking about voting on the community forum. So, I tend to think of the community as a bit more sophisticated than regular end users. But yeah, I get your point. Like once we roll out a bigger feature request type system, and always the risk at that is like someone won't understand quite what they're asking for, when something gets voted up, or quite the level of effort of something that seems easy or isn't. But yeah, I think we'll just have to work through it.
Specific note about devices that we don't have. A lot of times it's not just the man hours it takes to, or developer hours it takes to implement a device type or work on integrating it. It's a lot of it also has to do with the business relationship that goes behind that. So if you don't see a device integrated and it seems like we're slow to act, there's probably a lot of reasons why we haven't prioritized that up into directly developing it right on the spot. And I think that's also why we kind of built the platform that we have right now, is that if we can't do the development ourselves or are waiting for other things, that's a good indicator that the developer community should chime in as well too.
Okay, I just have to say, I'm really jealous, Tyler and Ben, that you guys are hanging out together, and it seems like outside and it doesn't look like the office. Tyler, can you update us with the 5 products that you certified?
Absolutely. So let me get my face here so I can make sure I'm in picture. We added 5 compatible devices last Friday. The Fibaro motion sensor, Fibaro flood sensor, and the Fibaro door window sensor. Those are all from Todd, so thank you, Todd. And also the Cree Zigbee bulb and the Wemo Zigbee bulb. The Wemo Zigbee bulb actually comes as part of a kit that has their link controller, but you can now pair the bulbs directly to SmartThings. I think out of all of those, I'm most excited about the Fibaro motion sensor and the Cree bulb. If you guys haven't seen it, and I have it right over here. Well, actually, one second. Oh, yeah, I'm here. The Fibaro motion sensor is
Eye of Sauron.
Yeah, the Eye of Sauron here is this tiny little golf ball sized device, and the whole front piece here is actually an LED indicator, and it can, it has an accelerometer, and it'll light up briefly when it detects acceleration and motion, and yeah, I like this one a lot. And the Cree bulb is really affordable, and I like the light a little bit better than the GE Link bulb. I think it's a little bit more diffused, whereas the GE Link bulb has a clear piece on the top. So this is going to begin the long process of us releasing devices frequently again. So starting with these 5, and every few weeks, you should expect to see new devices being released, as well as better involving you guys more in the process, be it voting or a beta process that we're currently developing.
Can you speak a little bit more to the new process since you've taken over device certification?
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, we're hiring. I'll always say that we're perpetually hiring, but we have a team of certification engineers who, run quality assurance checks against the device. We do functional testing to make sure that the device, works as advertised, and we're in close proximity to our business development team and our engineering team, making sure that the device integrations are excellent. So we'll probably do maybe a blog post on some of the updates there in the coming weeks. The changes are relatively new, but again, most important part is you should expect new devices released much more frequently than the past several months.
All right. Cool, thank you. Any questions, guys? Okay, awesome.
Yeah, if anyone has any questions, feel free to mention me on the forums too, just at Tyler. Okay.
What's next?
Gilbert, did you want to share with us?
I think it's the
Gilbert,
same as.
you are our only visibility into the roadmap, so you get to share and be the roadmap.
I think the only thing that I can share beyond us kind of working on the CES things is that we're going to be starting a new initiative, which is currently internally just called Device Health, but we may coin that differently when it hits production. But what it is the ability for device types to report back the healthiness of itself. So if your door sensor is out of range, low on battery, or maybe it's on a tamper, but all those different states, it'll be reporting back to the platform, and then also smart apps can gain access to those. It's going to be beyond the capabilities that we have right now, but more on a system level. Allows us to do reporting, allows us to check APIs. It's a lot of it is still right now in the planning process. I'm really looking forward to this. The whole goal of it is for us to be able to have a better handle on our devices and what to do when devices fail. For instance, if your GE Link bulb falls off the network or it doesn't respond to on command. Why is Ben shaking his head?
No. Ermin is texting me. Sorry.
Oh, okay, I thought you didn't like what I was saying.
No, sorry.
But yeah, it's really to increase the reliability of our devices and for smart apps to know what to do when devices fail. So if a bulb doesn't turn on, what do we do? Do we redo another retry? If a lock doesn't lock, or maybe it sends back a jam command, what do we do? Do we want to say that you should not try again? You probably don't want to mess up your door jam, but we can't cover all those instances, so we're going to be doing it at the device level rather on the platform level. So I wouldn't expect any changes to device types and smart apps and how we handle that. It won't be for a while until you'll see the early versions of this. But as we put this out, I think once again, the whole goal is to increase reliability of both smart apps and device types and how to handle those. And really deliver on a better experience than what we offer today.
I mean, said simply, you don't want to have to find out about a particular device not working the first time it fails. You want to know about its health before that, and so that's kind of what we're trying to do. There's a few questions in the chat about if it's going to be able to do give radio metrics or other RF signal strength capabilities.
Yeah.
And that is something we talked about, but maybe you wouldn't be for like the first version.
Yeah, and it depends on the protocol as well. There's going to be some protocols that lend itself better to certain metrics. For instance, Zigbee, we can get RSSI ratings, where Z-Wave doesn't really have any synonymous reading that we can tell to really determine whether or not something is in good health. And I see that Duncan is on the call. Yeah, you Duncan. He's actually on my team. We call it the device framework team, and we're going to be responsible for rolling that out. We're going to try to do it in an iterative format, so no surprises. We're not going to do one big milestone or one big bang where it touches both the developers and users and our platform all at the same time. We're going to try to release small portions of this as we go along. I don't know, Duncan, do you have anything else to add to that?
Not really. It pretty much covers it. Just one thing that's really
Did we lose him?
Status of whether the device is actually connected to.
Okay, rewind back 15 seconds.
Cutting out. Yeah, just the main thing I'm looking forward to is just being able to tell you when your device is actually connected or not connected to the to SmartThings, whether it's actually responding properly or not. So I think it'll be really nice to finally have a good solid status of connectivity for devices.
are we going to have, P. Stewart asked about mesh mapping, seeing which devices are connected to which?
We have this, I don't know if it's available to everybody, but we have this for Zigbee right now. We don't have this for Z-Wave. Duncan, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, there's some things I've been planning, but it probably won't be part of this first device health release. We're going to focus more on just, is the device responding properly or not? One of the main things is that Z-Wave doesn't give you a lot of info on so far on actually what routes are being used by devices. They're planning to change that soon, so we'll see. Right now, you don't really know what devices are being used as repeaters. You can just see a map of which devices can hear which other devices, and you kind of have to guess on that which ones it's using.
Gilbert.
That's not me.
That's Duncan's cat.
Yeah, that's my.
Or sorry, it's a puppy.
That black thing that's stepping on me is not a dog.
Everything's a puppy to me. They're all the same. I'm kidding. Dr. Z-Wave, Eric, are you here?
Yep.
Oh, awesome. So you were asking about Z-Wave fingerprint using the manufacturer's specific command class?
Yep.
Yeah.
I've been talking to Duncan already. So yeah, he's already got a way to get into it and do that. So I think we're well on our way. Then Duncan just left his chair, but maybe he could give us where it's going to go. So it can be done. It would be nice if it was built into SmartThings a little more natively and use that as the fingerprint, because that is definitively the fingerprint for a Z-Wave device. There's 3 16-bit fields, and that definitively says what this is. There's a very small number of Z-Wave devices that don't support manufacturer specific command class, and all Z-Wave Plus devices are required in order to go through certification, are required to have that, and the previous versions of certification also did that. So there's the few devices that don't have it will be end of life before too much longer anyway. So
Great. Yeah, it's too bad Duncan isn't here right there, but that's good information.
I think that'll be real nice in speeding up the joining process too, because right now you could have numerous devices with the same fingerprint.
Yeah, that joining process thing, I know that we're planning to change that for V2, because right now I believe what happens is that whatever Z-Wave or Zigbee device it joins, and then after it joins, it figures out what the fingerprint is and how to associate to the specific device type. I think on V2, since it's going to be done all on the hub level, we're going to be doing the fingerprinting along with the pairing of it. So you won't have those funky instances where you may pair a device and for a second it says unknown. Or if you back out soon enough, it actually sticks to unknown.
Right.
That was kind of related to my question that I asked. Is there any plan to release a higher level API that exposes things like neighbors, my nearest neighbor of a device, the devices it's connected to, whether or not it's a relay?
We talked about this for device health. That would be outside of the device type level. So it would be a change on our platform in order to surface this. I don't yet know whether or not we're going to end up surfacing this to be accessible to the smart apps themselves. It may be more of a user-facing in-app, letting you know that this device is connected to this one and your node went offline. But yeah, I don't know yet. I think the biggest impact that one has is that if your repeater went offline and subsequently made your child device go offline, we should be able to indicate that.
Say that again, Gilbert. I didn't quite understand that.
So I don't know whether or not we're going to surface this to the smart app level. We do have intentions of serving some level of visibility to the end user on the mobile app. So if you have two devices, one of them is a repeater, one of them is the child device or the connecting node to it. If the repeater goes offline and subsequently takes the child node offline, we would notify the user that both of them have gone offline. And maybe at some later point also create a mechanism for repairing the network.
Another thing along with those lines is to be able to create Zigbee or Z-Wave groups. And I'll use the word Patrick. Don't say anything. Scene.
Oh.
But anyway, but the groups, so we can create. I've got 6 GE light bulbs. In one room. If we can group those all together to give the one command instead of the 6 different commands.
Yeah.
Along those same lines, Gilbert, that would just be awesome. So, I mean, I would even, if we had the vote turned on now, April, I would vote the grouping of devices, Zigbee or Z-Wave, way far more than letting me know that, a subchild isn't doing well or the parent's not doing well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's 2 separate categories. What I was referring to is more on the reliability and making sure that devices are reporting back its states correctly. I think what you're referring to is just the easiness of setting up your configuration so you don't have to have virtual devices or associated devices to mimic the reaction when you turn on one kitchen bulb or one kitchen fixture that may have 6 different bulbs in there. I think another thing that I would eventually want to do as well too is that Zigbee has groupings, so you can send a command to multiple devices at the same time, so you don't get that popcorning effect when you're turning on and off X amount of lights. That's something that I would likely try to prioritize after device health. My main goal right now, and this is across all my different projects, is to increase the reliability across our platform. So that may slow things down in some areas, but I think that it's really important as we start to be not just the early adopters, but when the typical Joe starts to buy this off the shelf, he may not have the troubleshooting techniques that we all have become accustomed to. And we really need to kind of increase our quality, and that's going to be a big focus of mine.
Admirable.
Well, yeah, it's a big focus of everyone's.
Yep, absolutely.
Jody, your point was more towards like exposing APIs for such things versus trying to expose some of that through the UI. And I think that may come. I mean, I would hope that would come sooner than it would come to the UI. Some of these tools and things really don't belong in a mobile UI for sure, but maybe in like a web-based UI. So I think we'll just have to see, how we can implement those, and people like Duncan and Doug Berman and others will have to be involved. So we don't have a very good answer for when that will happen, but it's all good ideas.
Yeah, because if you exposed the things without having to put them in your UI, somebody would pick it up and make something that would show a mesh map. And all you would need to build a map is who my neighbors are. And with just knowing just that one piece of data, you could build a map.
Yeah, we have, I don't know if it's because I have an internal account, but I see the map for our Zigbee devices. It's almost like a spider web more than a map. It's quite messy. But yeah, it depends on what purpose it serves. So I think that's what it kind of comes down to. If that map is going to be surfaced to a developer for a very particular reason and very compelling reason, yeah, of course we'll do the APIs for it. But if it's just to create another dashboard that no one really has any access to, or if we may be creating something similar with much greater effort internally, then it may not make effort. It may not make sense for us to prioritize that over internally developing it. So it really depends on what the end goal is.
From my standpoint, as part of the developer platform team, we're going to be having our own track of essentially product development efforts designed toward to improving the developer experience. And so we might do things that are parallel or separate from consumer product. And because we want to expose as many things as possible for the developer community so that you guys can innovate on it. We know that we're not going to be able to keep up with the pace of the whole community doing things. So just trying to make those things easier and better is our goal, and we're hiring into that group like crazy, and there's a whole new focus on that. So
then we'll make sure that I expose as much as possible.
Dirty.
What?
All right, what's next, April?
I was trying to enlist some people to talk for us, like introduce themselves. Gary had a question regarding the sunrise and sunset. The ST page, Gary. Are you going to wear that shirt for me?
Yeah, you send it, I'll wear it, at least for the desktop. Not so much a question. I see a lot of comments, people saying, hey, you schedule things for sunrise and sunset, and the system's at a peak time then, and so they get missed. But I'm not understanding how sunrise or sunset could possibly be a peak time unless you happen to live in downtown New York City or something. My sunrise is very different, a very different time of day than the sunrise 50 miles east of me. So I just was hoping for a better explanation of that.
Yeah. So, this is a platform thing where we hit like everyone who has scheduled a sunrise or sunset event in each time zone. It tries to fire at the same time. That's why we've talked about doing it at an offset of even a few minutes works. I'm hoping maybe Rob wants to address some things we're doing in the future to address this. One of the things that will definitely address this is Hub v2. But until then, I'm wondering what can be done.
But Ben, what you're missing, what I'm trying to express here is my sunrise today, or my sunset, I can look it up, was at a very specific moment. 50 miles east of me, sunset was a different time. It was a few minutes earlier. And 100 miles east of me, it was 2 minutes earlier. So it seems to me that sunset should be a range of over 4 hours. And if you say scheduling for sunset as at a peak time, well, actually it's done by zip code, if my understanding is correctly. So
yeah, I'm not sure on how we roll that up. If we do in fact roll up all zip codes based on time zone, I think that would be weird, but I wouldn't be surprised. Todd is saying time zone is used here, and so I don't know. Your point is correct though. If we're not using coordinates or not using exact time zones, then that roll up effect, they all hit at once per time zone. And so perhaps there's some things we can do in how we batch those that would alleviate some of the problem. I, for one, remind people of that long-running incident on our status page every week, and I want something to be done about it. There's only so many things that the whole team can work on at once, but yeah, I agree. I think this is an issue that needs resolution.
Well, you're going too easy. My bosses always tell me, yeah, there's more to do, just get it done.
Yeah.
That too.
That also goes to the fact of why we're trying to hire 20 people a month.
Well, Jim A actually wants to add to that, and he says, I'd love to see an option added to sunrise, sunset, maybe a sunrise plus or minus value in minutes.
That already exists. Just throwing that out there, both in Hello Home and the lights and switches module. You can offset Hello Home by X number of minutes. I'm sorry, offset sunrise, sunset by X number of minutes.
Well, I stand corrected.
Not to say that that's the solution. That's certainly not the end solution for the problem. It's fixing it. But in the meantime, if you wanted to use an offset, you can do so in both smart apps.
Jody says, can we get an update on the mobile app development? Are there any plans to create a wider API that would allow the creation of a genuine third-party SmartThings client application? Maybe address some of the high-level philosophies behind why the platform and smart apps are designed the way that they are.
Do we have anybody from mobile on? I'm not sure if Gilbert, you might be the best qualified to answer the mobile release question.
Yeah, I think that the capability may be there, but I'm not sure whether or not, in terms of a company strategy, whether or not we want that. It hasn't really gone into discussions. I know that, like for instance, the Gear Watch is using the same APIs, or the same APIs that we're using on our mobile apps as well too. So the capability is there. That one we have to kind of keep a tighter wrap on. We wouldn't want someone to create a app and then white label it and mismarket it. So I think that the capability may be there, but we may have to be able to give access to it at very, very controlled doses. Yeah.
Well, while I'm not disagreeing with you, Gilbert, because I do think that a great user experience is going to be key to SmartThings adoption and success. I think that we are talking about potential ways to better document and allow access to quote unquote core API, so that things like that could be done more easily, so that things like Action Dashboard and other client apps could be built. Because we do think, like, any innovation around the platform is going to be good for the whole platform. So nothing is prioritized in that way, but there is a lot of semblance of consensus around, like, how do we get our core API, or at least a version of our core API, like, more accessible.
And that's the idea, is that you can't make one app that is everything to everybody, or else it's just going to be weak in a bunch of different areas. And if you look at something like Twitter, and they've kind of crippled their client infrastructure, where people are building specific clients for specific things. I think there's a whole market of people out there who would like to see something that is a Fisher-Price SmartThings client.
Yeah, and in those cases, we may be working directly with those partners to deliver good experiences on specific devices. It could be that we unlock certain portions of it. The dangerous thing is that these client apps, you're no longer going to be bounded like you are with smart apps, where a user explicitly says, I want to grant you access to this door lock, or no door locks, but I will grant you access to my lights and my sensors and such. Like my Pebble Watch, I have the Pebble app installed and I can turn on my lights, but no way in hell am I going to give it front door access. And that's a security layer that we have on our smart apps, that we will have less flexibility to do so if we have a client app, a full client app. And there are ways that we can kind of block that in a way that a user has a little bit more control. We haven't figured that out, and there's a lot of other priorities that we want to work on that comes a little bit ahead of some of these things.
Okay, so on the chat, Ash says, I want to bring up lately that I've noticed SmartThings apps crashes too frequently and cloud-based control fails more often. Has anyone else noticed this as well? And Eric has noticed that he's crashing and cannot debug. Can someone speak to that?
Are you crashing on iOS or Android? I see both on.
Both are crashing.
Is that, I can't tell what that is. If it's an Android, we have been spending a lot of time on revamping our Android app. And I don't know where the timeline is of actually releasing that out there, but it runs incredibly smoother than our current one does right now. We pretty much refactored our entire Android app, and this was being worked on for the last few months. So if you have an Android app and are a bit frustrated about maybe how long it loads, reliability of the app, or crashing, you should see some pretty huge improvements. I'll make a note for myself to check out with the mobile team on that and see if I can give you guys an answer. I'll probably post it in the forum on the developer calls on when we should be expecting another Android release.
Highly suggest a beta for that Android release. I mean, most of us would be willing to provide feedback before you go general release on it.
Yeah. I know Google Play gives us that via emails, so we can probably do that. I need to figure out what the timeline is and whether or not it has already gone through QA and is just do the final checks, or we have some additional work. I'm not working directly with mobile teams. I can't really say what the timeline is on that. But if there is an opportunity for beta, I'll raise that up there.
Okay. Mike is asking a couple of things I'm interested in. How to send raw non-coded bytes via hub action, and then expanded and complete. Mike, are you here? Maxwell. Oh, you are. Do you want to ask your questions?
Yeah, there's a couple things I was trying to figure out. One of them is there's like almost no documentation on hub action, and what I'm trying to do is basically send some unencoded bytes through that mechanism to a global cache device that I've got, and I don't think anybody's responded or figured out a way to do that. And then the other one was currently there's a way to pass parameters in through the href call for dynamic pages, and as of a month ago it used to work, and a couple of us have been trying to utilize that in some smart apps, and now it doesn't work anymore. So there's a thread going on about it, trying to figure out if there's been some platform changes that have caused that not to work. And then the other issue I had was just some more documentation on child devices, because none of the methods are public for that, and in order to figure out how to use it, you've got to scrape through all kinds of code.
So, Adam, I don't know if you have any insight into the platform changes that just went out. I know that's putting you on the spot. And then, Jim, you may also want to comment on the Hub Action docs that you recently updated. I have nothing really to add to this part of the conversation. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'll chime in on the Hub Action docs. So we did update them a little bit with regards to some of the LAN connected devices. It's not done. It's not the complete set of documentation around that, but Mike, you should check that out and see if it at least gets in the right direction.
Unless you've updated it in the past day or so.
No.
Okay.
No. And to be honest, like that whole LAN connected device documentation, like it's not, the organization of it is not ideal. It's in the future will change, but so it's not like in a section called Hub Action. It's about, I'll put it in the forums, but we should connect offline about specific gaps that you're seeing there that we can put in our backlog.
Okay.
And then with regards to the href stuff, I've started a conversation with some of our smart people in the engineering team about that specific use case. I know that we've done a lot of updated documentation around the preferences, but the href and dynamic page use case kind of keeps surfacing every few weeks, it seems like. So I feel like we're missing kind of like a how-to, more expanded example. Actually, I think it'd be really cool if we had a big example app that had with related to the preferences that showed different kinds of power. But we'll see if something changed too that you were saying.
I'm sorry?
We'll see if something changed with regards to the passing in parameters to a page.
Right. This is a local reference page, not an HTML page for a LAN or a WAN device. That's the part that's changed.
I think there was a third thing you had mentioned. Mike, besides the hub action, and I posted a link to the hub action updates, but besides the hub action preferences, was there a third subject?
Just the whole child device stuff, which isn't documented at all anywhere.
No.
I mean, you've got some stuff on there, but it doesn't show you the complete methods. As an example, try finding out that there actually exists a method called get child device as opposed to get child devices. It actually exists, which is awesome because that's the only way you can send a command from a smart app to one of your child devices, unless you've subscribed to it, So it's just that makes it extremely difficult to, write these apps and take advantage of the infrastructure that exists.
Right. I know that with some of there's been no documentation around the child devices, and in part it's because of the idea of solution manager apps being only written by the SmartThings internal team. So that has been kind of an intentional decision up till now, and so how child devices and that kind of fit into each other, I'm trying to understand.
I know, dude. But the thing is that you have production code that you've released that basically shows snippets of this stuff. So you're killing yourselves by trying to keep the API to that quiet and yet publishing applications that make use of it.
Right.
I mean, we'll figure it out, right? There's plenty of people that probably, most of the people that join this meeting are capable of figuring that kind of stuff out and are going to ask questions about it. So,
right. No, people are figuring it out. And
so the question is, would you rather have people sit there and, bang up against a debugger blowing stuff up, or have them try to do it right the first time?
Right.
And the question, it goes to open API up more. And sorry.
You're breaking up.
But yeah, I mean, it's a question of priorities, and losing it. No, I'm fine. Just say what I said. It's what Todd said. Priorities.
If I can just say one thing on the hub.
Silent?
One thing I realized in the hub action early, Mike, was it was specifically meant to just do HTTP requests. Trying to do anything outside of that, it doesn't really function very well. Hopefully we'll see that change, but it's just not possible. It's not a TCP or UDP type sender. It's purely HTTP.
Right, but I think plenty of us have. I understand it's not a two-way comms mechanism, but it does allow you to push raw packets through, as several of us have already used it for. So,
TCP only, though.
Yeah.
Okay. Josh, are you on the call?
On the call.
Cool. You had a question or more of a quick note?
Yeah, it was just a comment about the GE Link bulbs, that the fact that they basically advertise that they request 2 number parameters, but they really just take 1. And if you try to send a set level with 2 parameters to it, it'll fail. It just won't do anything. So I didn't want to get off into a big interface discussion, but it was more of a question of why devices say, hey, I want 2 parameters, but if you send it 2 parameters, it fails. Viewer?
Sorry, I'm being distracted by Todd.
Anyone want to field that one? I just don't know.
Well, Josh, we were talking offline on this real quick. I mean, are you talking about sending it from a smart app, or actually from the device type and trying to actually do the set level command inside the device type?
So I was talking about from a smart app. I think the example I gave in the forum was that I developed an app called Sharp Tools for Android that allows users to use Tasker as well as widgets, and they can set whatever commands they want. And the way it works is it actually goes out and uses those reflection type properties that are out there, like commands and capabilities and arguments, and it pulls that in automatically, so I don't have to go through and code all these different settings. So when a user goes and it just grabs down from the platform, hey, what property or what arguments does set level take? It comes down and it says, oh, it takes two arguments, when that's not actually the case. So as a workaround, I could go through and override each of those different weird cases, but it's just a question of why the GE link says it wants 2 parameters but only takes 1, and it fails if you send it 2.
Is it just the GE? Because that's the set level, and the code is similar to a lot of the other any dimmer type classification there.
There may be others. I mean, I've only found that the GE itself actually fails if you send a set level with 2 different arguments. For other things like intermatics and GEs and other things like that, GE dimmer switches, not bulbs. If you send the 2 parameters, it has no problem. It'll just ignore the second one most of the time. But the GE links in particular fail. It doesn't accept the command at all.
See, what's weird is there's nothing unique within the device type that would cause that. Anything that would have a capabilities of a switch level, the capabilities taxonomy has 2 values for set level, but most just call for, set level and expecting a single value. I'm not sure if Tyler or anybody can just modify the built-in code. I can test it real quick on my code to find out if you take 2 values, what happens. I mean, I'm literally doing it right now. I'm a little confused why you're specifically seeing it just with the GE bulb, because the code's literally the same across almost all set level type capabilities.
Yeah, I think the difference is that the GE device type, it's kind of like what we were talking about in the forum, that if it implements a method stub for set level with 1 argument, and if it implemented a set level method with 2 arguments and then basically just passed that down back into set level, just basically overloaded the command, excuse me, then that would be fine. It's not ideal because from a user perspective, it's still confusing. Why am I sending the second parameter that doesn't do anything? So it kind of goes back to capabilities, and if a capability like switch level is defined as having set level that has 2 parameters, is that truly the case? Does it enforce that all devices that have that now broadcast, hey, I require 2 parameters with set level, even though it doesn't necessarily require that in the implementation of the command itself or the device type?
I'm just looking at device type examples. I looked at the Centralite dimmer, which can you just check your code at some point offline to see if that gives you the same error, because that only implements 1 set level parameter. But the dimmer switch, which is the generic one, actually has 2 functions for set level, both a set level value and a set level value comma duration. So it could just be as simple as, fixing your application may just mean that support has to modify the official GE bulb and others to accommodate both cases. But it only seems to be affecting what you're trying to do here rather than the core functionality of what's actually happening with the functions here.
I think if anybody if they went in and they said, okay, what does this device have? They went and said, grab the supported commands and figure out what argument set level has. It'll tell them it has 2. So maybe other people aren't using it like that, but it's what the platform is saying. Hey, this is what I have. And I agree. One workaround is to say, let's just overload those commands so that we have kind of a default set level with 2 parameters that maps into a single parameter command. It's just kind of a weird thing when the device is describing itself as requesting to. Anyways, I don't want to drag the conversation out too far. So.
Yeah, I'd love to get duration working, frankly, with the GE bulbs, but I haven't been able to figure out the Zigbee cluster for it, so, or the Cree bulbs.
And it's definitely true that there's no.
Oh, how cute.
Sorry, Duncan, you timed out. I think your kid might hit your attention.
Yeah, to make sure that they fulfill the requirements for the capabilities. So that would be something to add. Would be something to just actually check those to make the device type and stuff.
All right, guys.
Parameters isn't being used very often, so sorry.
Cool. Thank you guys for joining us. I encourage you guys to give us questions ahead of time. That way we can put that towards the agenda. Sorry, I guess a lot of us actually have to run towards doing an interview real quickly. Again, we're hiring, so just wanted to remind you guys that. So we are hiring a lot of them. So, any other questions, guys?
I just want to give a shout out to Gary, who found a bug, an error in the documentation, and then made a pull request to fix it. You guys know it's a big job to stay on top of the documentation that is there and make new stuff. So shout out, it's appreciated. When people call me out in the forum, just because I don't do anything about it immediately does not mean I'm not watching and taking notes. So keep doing that. Just have a little bit of patience and understanding, but appreciate the enthusiasm.
All right. Awesome, guys.
Yeah, thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Windows.
Tyler. I like that grin. See you guys.
Yeah.